everyone to the 2017 HFF Postmortem Town Hall. Thank you for all attending. You're clearly the most important people in the Fringiverse because you are here right now. So, well done. A couple of announcements.
Thanks for coming.
A couple of announcements. First of all, thanks to our friends at Sacred Fools for hosting us today. We are being recorded by there is Beaver, and he is recording us. I'm not entirely sure if this is my good side.
There's no bets.
Thank you, Con. Thank you, Con. He's getting my side. One announcement to all you at home, as well as all you here. There is a survey. We want to know how you feel. For those of you who has taken the survey, welcome. Who has taken? Wow. Okay, according to this, a clear majority of you have taken the survey at home as well, if the folks here are to be extrapolated to the larger Fringe community. It's hollywoodfringe.org/survey. We very much want to know what your feelings are. And after this, we will have a mixer at 3 clubs. Dave has wristbands. Okay, very good. Okay, some thoughts about today. First of all, it's a conversation. I think with the amount of people here, we don't need to do the hands raised thing. We always try to stay positive but constructive. It's great to have a problem. It's even better if you have a problem and a suggestion. Please be honest. No idea is bad. And yeah, so I'm going to generally go through a little list here of the various parts of Fringe and just try to get a conversation going, what people thought worked, what people didn't work, what could be improved. These are things that we want to know. So beginning at the beginning is registration. Your thoughts on the ease of the registration, the costs, the communication, the support. Obviously, we had for those of you who've done the Fringe before, there was a new methodology to how to register this year. Would love your feedback on that. So the floor is yours. I have to call on people.
I thought it was smoother than the year before. I remember when we had the town hall last year, I commented about just kind of putting up a little a basic outline, a directive for people that are new. And I saw that this year, and I thought it would really help move things along. I mean, even though this is my second year.
And you did it last year, so you're the primary contact, so you went through the whole process last year. And this year you saw that the whole thing is front-ended in a wizard sort of situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much smoother, more efficient, definitely.
So that's what was different. For those of you, this is your first year, that you had your wizard this year. You went through step, and you could register within 5 minutes. And last year, I mean, you had to get a venue booking before registering. And Quinn is here, so this is a conversation. We were collectively always worried that if we allowed people to register before they booked, that there would be a catastrophe of people not knowing they needed to book. Now, how did you think that process went this year, and how could it be improved?
It was good. I mean, we had the thing at the end.
Yeah.
Remember when you sent out the list of these shows?
Like
How was that for
every
you?
2 days. I mean, it was a pain in the ass, but it was fine. It needed to happen.
Right.
You know?
You also see, first to your point, I thought the status part was great.
That
And
worked.
the ease, like one of the things they had was the ability that you could, pick which venues, and you can go through and select a bunch of venues. So I thought that streamlined it.
Came to me in a dream.
And then,
Yes.
but then, the aftermath, it seemed, I sensed your kind of chaos with it.
Yep.
For us, there was 1 or 2 that were like my shows.
Yep.
They just didn't press the button.
Yep.
But I thought, I thought you guys would like it this year, that it was good that they could register early.
I think that it was one of the contributing factors to our numbers going up this year. Because people are like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to commit. And now I need to find a venue.
Now you got to do it.
Because before it was, I want to try to find a venue, and I had trouble, and I give up, I'm not going to register.
Right, because the venue process is tough, so it's easy to quit that.
Exactly. So I thought that was good. It's like, okay, I'm committing. And now I'm in.
Did you have anybody that couldn't find a venue at the end?
I don't think we have ever, in the history of the Hollywood Fringe Festival, had anyone that said, I can't do the Fringe because I can't find a venue.
So the ones that did, because there were a few that paid registration.
Yes.
And then did you just pass that on to the following year?
Normally, yeah, we say that if you've paid your registration and it's after April 1st, then you could pass it forward to next year. So at least, so if you decide to bail or something happens, like it's only in situations of death in the family or debilitating disease, that sort of thing, where we refund outright. Like something you just can't be helped, act of God sort of thing. But like if it's, I decided not to do it, then yeah, you can push it to the next year.
I see.
As far as like, I don't know, as far as like sort of broadening it to how much money you needed to spend in the whole process, like broadly, like, did you feel that it was fair? Did you feel like, or did you feel like you like went out on a limb and you made none of your money back and that was a big problem? Like, we want to talk about money a little bit. Anyone?
I'll
Go for it.
Last year I broke even, this year I broke even. I even had a little bit of money left over to pay myself, and I was shocked.
Well.
Yeah, it's just,
We are a 501c3. Congratulations on that.
So, so
Yeah.
it was nice.
So that was our goal, to like make it so that you could do a show for $1,000 if you have zero set, and just for booking and rent you can do a show, 5 performances for $1,000. That was in 2010. That was the initial rubric, right? Well, how about everybody else, like from money?
I paid my actors a gas stipend for every show.
My God, that's great.
Too, so.
Oh, that's terrific.
What show did you? I'm sorry?
What's your show?
I was Naked Shorts, less is more.
It was the Naked Show.
Wow.
There's always a draw.
It says to say, at the Hollywood Fringe Festival, you could have a show that you need to be naked to go see and still break even. I think that's going to go into our marketing materials. What were you saying, Richard?
Yeah, we actually made a little bit of, tiny bit of profit.
Yay, congratulations, congratulations.
We did keep the budget as slim as possible. So we didn't spend a ton on sort of quote-unquote advertising. We advertised through the Fringe site.
Yep.
And I was always on, we didn't buy 45,000 clicks. I kept buying the small amounts of clicks.
Little at a time.
To kind of study on was getting any results and when to buy, buy more and that.
Could you share, we're skipping a little bit, could you share, like, I want to know, like, from your ads perspective, what worked?
I don't have a definitive answer on whether or not advertising on the Fringe site, because the number of actual impressions compared to the
Number of clicks? Yep.
Yeah, right.
is a tiny percentage.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, so few clicks. However, something about our show, people have an awareness of.
Yep.
The image was great.
But we only printed postcards. We only did 1,000, and we had postcards left over.
Oh, wow.
We didn't do our own separate website because I was the graphic designer.
Yep.
So, because we wanted everybody to come to one place, which was the place to buy tickets, get information.
Yep.
So we kept down a lot of those other expenses. We used, we just used Twitter and Instagram and Facebook as much as we could. And because I was the graphic designer, I was able to do virtually a different tweak on the graphic every day. Some little thing to make it different in some way and send it out to the actors. And it took hours every day. Every day there were hours in my apartment spent designing the next thing and getting it out to the actors and a way to try to get awareness. But I will say, people seem to wear the show. We bought 5 performances. We didn't buy 9,
Yeah.
And outside of that, we didn't do, obviously the things we didn't do, but we didn't do footlights.
Right.
We didn't do Better the Lemons. We didn't do a sponsored drink, which I thought $100 was pricey for that.
You thought it was pricey?
Yes.
That's good feedback.
And in fact, I had friends who had sponsored drinks, and so I would sort of show up and get a vibe, and I was glad we didn't do it, because I just felt like I'm not sure this is making an impact in connecting with the shows.
That's good feedback.
Connecting with the shows.
Yeah.
$100 seems like a lot. So I'm trying to think of the other things we didn't do. we didn't do most.
Did you do a guide ad?
We did do a guide ad, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. We did a half page.
Half page,
And
yeah.
as a graphic designer, I would absolutely recommend nothing smaller than that.
Yep.
Half page. I
Yep.
just think emotionally it shows a commitment and a pride about a show.
Yep.
That just, having some experience in advertising like that.
Yep.
That you gotta lay that out for the extra $250. The prices for the guide advertising are fantastic.
Okay, okay.
So we can raise.
So too low is what you're saying. So we're gonna lower the drinks, the drink sponsorships and up the guy. Okay.
I thought the price of the impressions, the price of the Fringe site ad, I thought that was very reasonable. I didn't have any problem with that.
Okay.
Because I can design, I made little animated GIFs, and to my dismay,
Yes.
the site wasn't accepting little animated.
And I could give you the technical reason why, but yes, it's true.
Yeah. It probably takes more, whatever, size of things, but I really wanted the edge. I had a little weak in the edges on it. That I thought
See,
would have gotten people in the seats.
So it's a thing. It's like, do you want to allow those? Because like you would probably do it very tastefully, but some other people might do it not so tastefully.
And then it turns into a web page.
Yes.
And, to your concern, a web page, all kind of flashing things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right from the 1990s, MySpace. Yeah.
Right. Because you really want, it's a reading site. You want people getting to your page and reading the description of your show and reading reviews. You don't want it to be flashing stuff.
Right, right.
And all that.
We're exploring different ways to do ads beyond impressions, like timed ads, like it's an every day from like you could buy 3 days or something like that. Like currently, for those of you who bought online ads, I know obviously yes, so 2. Like, did you feel that like the ads went very quickly, that you wanted to get more out of it? Did you feel that the way that you bought them were confusing in any way, like how they worked?
It wasn't confusing, but I kept track on a daily basis. Once I bought the ads
Yep.
and started them, I kept track on a daily basis the counts left. And it has this weird pattern where the first few weeks was nothing.
Right.
Then for a period of about 8 days, they all went away.
Oh, that was the click farm in Indonesia that we paid to make them go
Yeah,
down.
right.
No. What was the time frame? Do you remember when they suddenly went away? Do you remember like what time of the month they all went away?
The ones when they started going were the month right before.
May.
Yeah, May.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because as soon as ticketing and people start swarming it, they'll go, yeah, okay, well that makes sense. And that's one of the things that concerns us, is just that the site gets so much traffic, and the traffic comes like very suddenly, and how long, because of the way it all works, the algorithm works, how long your ad will be on the site is a direct correlation of how many other ads are on the site at the same time. So it's like, it's a problem right now. If you buy an ad now, you're competing with 4 other ads, it's gonna last like a half hour. Like it's gonna go because you're not competing with anybody else. Now, people are gonna see your ad, which is why we're exploring with new models for
Yeah,
that.
but that's what happened, because I was using the ads as pre-Fringe.
Yep.
So when people would come in, they would see it as, venue option.
Yes.
Somebody do it. But it went like,
Yep.
because I was the only ad.
Because you were the only
probably
ad.
In January.
Yep.
So something like you're saying, or, I mean, I don't know how it could be condensed, or a different price for earlier on, or something like that. But
Right.
I stopped doing it and waited until later.
Right.
Yeah, I personally feel like one structured during tickets being on sale, like what we have now, and then, because that's when there's tons of ads.
Right.
And then, yeah, and then the rest of the time, yeah, maybe doing it by the day or something.
Some sort of
Yeah.
change
Because I
on how it
definitely use
works.
it, I mean, that's my
Yeah.
market.
Right.
Like everybody going there signing up, or maybe if it could be placed in a certain page, I don't know.
Well, yeah, basically, like your use case specifically, the current model is not conducive to
It's
that.
not, yeah.
Yeah.
I learned
So,
that quickly.
yeah.
It was like 2 days, I'm like, whoa.
So we're,
And, yeah, like 10 months of the year. Because it really is, it's almost like, you know, up through the end of April, there are 5 or 6.
Yep.
And then there's 60.
Yep. And 80% of those are sponsors.
June 26th,
Right.
it goes back down to 5.
Right. Right, because at our height, we had over 100 ads on the site at once.
Nice.
Yeah,
At
which is a
once.
record,
That's
at
great.
once.
Was that the record?
That was a
Wow.
definitely a lot. Basically, everything this year was a record. Name the stat, and it was a record this year. Yeah.
I'm surprised at that number, that's not higher. I can't imagine having a fringe show and not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And there we go. It's him.
I did not either.
Um,
I did this last year, I did not this.
It's the point of ads, to speak to your point, and I think you basically hit it. The reason why we say get online ads is because it is a cheap way to make an impression on people and sort of drive that image of your show into their mind. Because it's like, honestly, like I can picture your card right now. I can picture your flyer right now, exactly what it looked like. And you printed less than 1,000, but you did online ads. And I saw it all the time because I was on the Fringe site all the time. Like whether or not the show was good or successful, God damn it, I knew what your art was, you know? So like, I think you can't judge, in my experience, because we do this too, we do online ads for Fringe, you can't judge their success by click-throughs. It's all about just eyeballs seeing it and that little part of your brain going, I recognize that.
And it's there,
Yeah.
you see it on Twitter, and you see it on Facebook.
Yeah.
You're being bombarded.
I think for these things, they're all sort of on the periphery of what still works, which is the old fashioned word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially the one-on-one meeting people, asking them to come to the show, getting yourself to.
Hustling.
If you can.
Yeah.
The one-on-one thing. And this is where I'm very, very, very grateful to Fringe for how early on the town halls and workshops begin. And they always go to a mixer, and then the office hours start. I came into this, I was in a show 2 years ago, but the producer of that show, none of us were Fringe experienced, and he wasn't Fringe experienced, and at the time wasn't all that worried about the networking possibilities and things like that. So we didn't really have much of that experience. So at the very end, we were like, what is Fringe Central? And it was a week left.
Right.
So I knew I didn't want to miss all that. And that's why I got involved so early. And the early relationships at office hours before it was huge are, you know, Steve, the guys that I'm sitting here with tonight.
Right.
You know, like, we met very early on and developed real good friend. Did you guys see my show? We developed really good early friendships.
Coldplay
And-
show, right?
And bonds together. And then I noticed with about 2 weeks left, I think it was at Black and San Monica, all of a sudden office hours exploded.
Yes.
And everything changed in 1 week, and I walked in and my heart sank because I thought, oh, I can't network anymore. There's too many people, it's too much, and everybody's got a thing, and it really did then just turn into a sort of social thing where it got so big toward the end.
Like a rave mixer.
It's
Yeah, everything just come in and it was.
the South by Southwest
It was
effect.
so many people, right. But I think it must have, you know, and that's a Fringe thing, that's not a show networking thing. That's Fringe lays it out and says, you can do this if you want, and it's free,
Right.
you know?
Let me ask you a question. Who did Cabaret here? Anybody? One, two Cabaret. You did Cabaret. I saw your Cabaret, so you did Cabaret.
I thought you meant a cabaret show.
No. You were in Cabaret, yeah.
I did Fringe cabaret.
What if, like, we started doing that earlier? You know, what if we did that as sort of a complement to office hours almost? Like, was that something that you would find valuable or participate in, which you would attend? Like, what do you guys think?
For me, it was a matter of scheduling.
Yes?
So, if, I know that we're restricted as far as, availability of venues.
Yep.
But if Fringe was extended either a bit forward or a bit back,
Yep.
so that the cabarets do not exist in the same period as the performance period.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If the purpose of the cabaret is to get word out about the show.
Teasers before the festival begins, yeah.
And I realize the problem, the logistical problem with that is the availability of Fringe Central not being there yet.
Sure, but like imagine a world in which there was this space where cabaret could be, and if cabaret started earlier in like a February, March timeframe, and it's something that people do throughout to sort of build up. Like the big question is, I mean, when we started office hours, I mean, it was literally like me and Stacy at 3 clubs and Quinn
It was
and
actually before, yeah.
yeah, it was like
It was
2011.
It was kind of fringe, but it was also like the people just getting together.
It's
was
like
a
yeah,
cool mix.
it was. And then it, developed, became official after that, and
Yeah,
something
yeah,
we
yeah.
promote. But mostly it was just, that's when Stacy and I went to the bar, and
Down the block.
because we lived down the block. So we said, hey, if you want to talk, like, we'll be at 3 clubs. I guess meet us there over a drink, because we're going to be there anyway. But yeah, and it was tiny. And even last year, we had some office hours with just like 8 people. Like, and something happened this year, and everyone started to go. I don't
I
know.
noticed the newbies really listened this year and took advice from the guys.
Oh, that's good.
All these guys were first years, they listened. They went out and they're like, you've got to go out and meet people. And they all did. It was, I mean, everybody did. There weren't as many veterans.
Fear
at
is a
those
driver.
events.
Yeah, like, do you feel it was like, I must go out and network to get people to come see my show? I'm one of 400 shows. Like, what was the driver?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, gosh, I think I can address all of these things real quick.
Please.
I kind of did the math and thought, if I sold out my way, that's my budget.
Right.
When I saw my theater.
right.
Not, I went to, I love the town halls.
Yeah.
The certain, not town, yeah, the
Wor-
top.
workshops.
The best workshop in my opinion was the panel of all the different shows, because you had somebody did a one-man show, you had somebody did a musical, so there's something for everyone. So I learned a lot
That's great.
about that right there. That's why I chose not to do too much advertising and to do the office hours, because I had a one-man show.
Yeah.
When I saw that I'm like, God, if I work, if I spend too much on advertising and I sell out my show, I still won't make my money back.
Right.
I'll spend all my money on advertising.
Right.
I mean, I did the math when, I'm like, it's fine, I'm doing a one-man show, I don't have an overhead.
Right.
It's just me complaining to me, so. I didn't listen, so. So I used the town, I used all the office hours as a big deal, which I thought helped a lot. The one thing I will say about that, but I mean, Megan's awesome. I was on every single one.
Yeah.
But like that one echoey bar, which she said we would never do again, is awful.
Which bar was that?
It was the one that we have to issue.
There was all sorts of crazy issues with that.
Right, but just
Yeah.
despite that, like, that was if you were scouting that bar, it's like, I'm doing a one-man show. I can't lose my voice.
Yeah.
People are doing musicals. Black is awesome.
Black is
There's
awesome.
a patio.
Yeah.
I love that.
That
Black
is
is awesome.
more.
And I can speak a little bit to like the reason why we chose was that, like, last year, our biggest one was 70 people.
No,
And
absolutely.
this year, our biggest one was
But I'm just-
250.
250.
I'm letting you know that I went to almost all of them, so I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I think you should do black twice, because you got that patio.
Yeah.
So there's more networking.
Yeah.
3 of clubs is great if you open the back room.
I thought St. Felix was great.
Because St. Felix is great, those are your top
They got a little back
Or
area,
to
too.
be
Yeah.
able to talk,
Yeah.
to actually network, to
Yeah.
physically network. 'Cause,
Yeah.
People that do like, when I met Michael Shaw Fisher, he's doing a one-man show that's a musical. I mean, he couldn't talk. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He can't now. I mean, so that is a factor, so I appreciate those places for the best.
Is there a place that Michael Shaw Fisher doesn't talk?
There's that.
Apparently, we should. That's the place.
I love you, Michael Shaw Fisher.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
He's not watching.
Recorded.
Say whatever you want to say about Michael Shaw Fisher. He's not watching.
Just tweeted.
That's great. That's fantastic feedback. So so to back to the just quick because we're actually thinking about doing this cabaret thing earlier.
No.
Is that something that you guys would find valuable? Go ahead,
I
Matt.
was just gonna dovetail off it a bit, I know we talked about this, and I went down to the San Diego Fringe this year, something they do, I think other fringes do it.
Yep.
Is that press promotion the week before.
Yep.
Where they do a showcase, like picture a cabaret with 20 acts, and the whole room is filled with press people. So that they end up seeing that and get a taste of it
Right.
the week before. Now, all of our international shows that we're doing both, they all went down there for that, because it was such a huge event. So, and then the flip side, I would just say of doing it year round.
I'll write that
is
down.
my experience, so yeah, that'd be a press
Right.
pre-Fringe. My experience though is most of these shows aren't ready.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Until May,
Right.
June. So anything earlier than that, I think you're either gonna get shows that are already in the can and aren't really Fringe shows. Or people just trying to put something together that they may not want to show anyway.
That's true.
Because it, you know, I mean, I literally had groups, you know, that are like, I just lost an actor 2 weeks before the show.
Like, how do we do that? Because it gives you have 20 shows, but that is 20 out of 400
Right, it's
shows.
a different
yeah.
thing. I mean, they did it, I think, primarily for out-of-town shows.
Oh, did they limit it to out of
I
that?
could check with Kevin, but I think it wasn't everybody. I mean, they actually had 84 shows. They had as many shows as we had at the asylum.
Right.
But still, a lot that they didn't do every.
We had as many shows as one super venue in Edinburgh, so it's
Is
okay.
that
Oh,
true?
sure, yeah.
So I don't know if it could really, right, to that point, if it could work for this.
Right.
But to address that question in your thought process, is that if it's done too early, shows are not ready.
They're not ready, right?
Well, I showed up late, I signed up late, so I was scrambling. to
What's
find
late?
time.
When you say you signed up late, what's late?
I signed up
And-
right before the deadline for signing.
Oh, okay.
I remember walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to juggle see if my schedule was free.
Life, sure.
Yeah, but, if that's that's the concern that
Part of
shows
it,
might not be
yeah.
ready, when is the earliest sign?
Right.
When is the earliest sign?
February 1st.
February 1st, yeah.
Like, okay, so there's this other convention that I started going to annually in Las Vegas called Combat Con.
Huh?
This year it's in June, but the sign up for every year is the October prior. So if you have sign up, it puts in the producer's head that thing you said earlier about I'm signed up, now I have to follow through.
Yeah.
So if they sign up in October, they'll start gathering people and building cast and faculty.
I think part of it though is even if you put the date in October, people aren't signed. I mean, we got more advanced questions about spaces than ever before all the venues we talked about.
Yeah.
November is when people do it, but the fall doesn't really get rolling until February. And I think part of that's just the theater produced, like you're saying, you couldn't get together, you're busy dealing with everything. Some of these people are still writing scripts.
Yeah.
So, I love the idea.
There's nothing keeping us from letting people do it earlier. Like, it's just
Right.
February seemed, however many months before. Yeah.
See what happens.
January 1st. Yeah.
I mean, I'd love it to start as right away.
I mean, technically, like, there's nothing keeping us from you can do it now if you want
I
to.
think I
Yeah.
personally think that.
The only reason, we do these things, like, it's the same reason why when you register, your tickets don't automatically go on sale. It's because it allows us to put a lot of heft behind the announcement and make a big deal. It's like, tickets are on sale today, and people like go crazy, and like, and we saw an incredible amount of tickets were sold on that first day as a result of the big thing.
Is that a record?
Oh, yeah. As I said, everything's a record.
Anything you were
It's a record.
It's probably a record.
Yeah. We didn't hit the first day sales numbers
We
until,
didn't hit the first day sales numbers until the first Saturday last year.
yeah.
So first Saturday, which is traditionally our biggest
Yeah.
money night.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
we did that on May 1st.
yeah.
Yeah, so
That's phenomenal.
that's why we do like registration is now open sort of thing, but,
Another thing that, again, this is from
Go for it.
perspectives who just started. This may be an issue with scheduling for the venues, but when we sign up with a venue, that whole thing where we don't get our specific performance slots until,
Yeah, that's venue by venue.
Later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
So that in turn delays our creating our ads.
Right.
Because our ads
Right.
So-
for a five performance show, we'll have the specific performance times.
And like, we had this idea, like, I got halfway through building this, is like treating venue spaces and performance slots like a shopping cart.
Yeah, I remember.
But it's not realistic for the venues. And also what would happen is that the Saturdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. would be gone. And the venues couldn't come in and say, no, you get one Saturday, one Friday, and then a couple of these, and it would become very uneven in that. It's one of the reasons we do.
I'm not necessarily suggesting that, I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
saying the scheduling, if it possibly could, would be helpful if you were earlier.
Yeah,
Right, if you-
And it's
if you
venue
set
by
that
venue.
earlier, then-
Right.
Everyone does that differently.
right. And okay, yeah, that's really good feedback. So you're saying it's like the earlier the better from a registration perspective.
Well, if we started January first, I mean, that's a decent, starting off with the new year,
I mean,
register for Fringe.
Or January
But I think
January
I
5th.
think what he's saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're saying specifically like your venue didn't assign you your performance slots.
And this won't necessarily address
The
that.
only thing I wonder with registration, I'm a huge fan of starting right away, because I do think when people see it's the registration's February, they don't start looking for venues.
Right.
As a venue, we'd love it if people started earlier. I'd love to be booked earlier.
Sure.
If the
You were overwhelmed, I
registration,
remember. You took me away.
well, at the very end, it became overwhelming because everybody came in. But I did have people say, well, I'm not gonna do it yet because I'm waiting to register. And, oh, you can register, without getting your venue, all that. But the fact that the registration was in February
Did,
stuck in some people's minds.
to what extent did the timing of scholarships impact,
That was a big impact.
that impacted you, the
That
timing of
needed-
scholarships?
And we talked about this, that
Sure.
just needs to start earlier.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
so again, maybe start registration earlier, get the scholarships going earlier, because all the venues had groups that were on hold waiting for scholarships.
Right. Yes, Steve?
Hi, just to introduce myself to those who don't know me, I'm Steve Fife, I'm the editor of BetterLemons.com. I did try to see as many shows as I could.
I read you went to quite a few shows.
Yeah, you did talk.
Yeah, I wrote about something like 50 shows.
Yes.
Just a fraction of what you had.
Yes.
But I'm also a two-time participant in the Fringe in 2013 and 2016, so I kind of have those two perspectives to bring to it. And I can tell you, first of all, it was a lot more fun to go to everybody else's show than try to run my own show.
Yeah.
Which,
I'm going to take a year off and just go to shows, and I guarantee you it'll be more fun.
It's so much fun. You don't have that.
But you guys should register and do a show next year, don't listen to Steve.
I thought you were talking to Beaver. Okay.
I did get, because of the, situation I had of being kind of an observer this year, much more than, even though I felt like a participant in the sense that, I did try to see as many shows and I tried to get involved, and certainly there were shows that I fell in love with and tried to, spread the word as much as I could. That I heard a lot from, especially this block of shows of people who came from, the international people who weren't here to do their own setup and publicity and didn't have any contacts here, that they kind of felt they were thrown into this Darwinian world that they weren't ready for. And that was kind of already, they felt like they, the basic sense I got from them was they felt like they came into the middle of a movie already in progress, and they kept trying to catch up to find out how to, become part of the movie. But again,
How do we fix that?
Well, I tell you, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Ben, I had a heart-to-heart with Ben about it too. I am like the only venue doing internationals at this point, because all the other groups are just tired of that impact. And we've had actually 50-50, like, waiting, Ladies in Waiting sold out every single night. He came from England.
And then you had the zombie show a few years ago, which was a
Zombies,
huge
well,
success.
They still lost money.
Yeah.
The problem that it is that we're in Hollywood. So I literally, with every one of those people, you should hear the kind of spiritual laughs at me, is I'm like, you don't want to do this. I'll say you won't get crowds, you're going to lose a lot of money.
Mhm.
What you do get here is an opportunity if you work. And what I learned is we did a lot more. We got housing for people. The people who are complaining we didn't have them, we gave them ambassadors for people. But, so they had people that they were talking to, working with, they had places to stay, and what I found out happened is they kind of felt like, well, all this is being done. And they literally, I had groups show up who had done nothing online, nothing to contact people, and really expected full houses.
So,
So,
interesting.
in terms of what to do, I'm really torn, because I don't want to go through anymore, going through, seeing a show with one or two people in the house.
Right.
At the same time, people want to come strictly because it is Hollywood. And honestly, I push them down, like San Diego Fringe has a really good international place. They've got a lot of funding for it. The community is supportive of it. Part of it is LA people,
Right.
there's no interest in the international.
That's what I.
So I kind of, part of me is like, I may not do it next year.
Mhm.
I
Feel-
still get calls from people that will say, well, I wanna come, and literally I tell them, you will lose all your money. You will not have people to the house unless you work hard. Alfie, you guys remember Alfie?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Everybody remembers Alfie.
Yeah.
Alfie was here as long as those people were. He went out every single night to shows.
He did
every
cabaret,
single night.
he was
He went
in-
to the gay bars, he
Yeah.
went to Hamburger Mary's.
He also emailed support long before he ever came to the
Exactly.
States, and, you know, he and I had a back and forth going for, you know, weeks.
Exactly, so he
So,
came
I-
in here.
Yeah, I think even for national acts or even for LA acts.
Yeah.
I think a huge part of it is drinking the Kool-Aid, you know, and
I agree.
I mean, it seems like, sorry, Dave, I mean, the idea of a cabaret just for international, like in that first week or whatever,
Yeah.
might not be a bad idea.
It's a great idea.
Where, or 2 nights of cabaret, whatever it is.
We
that-
tried it kind of.
National
But it
slash
was too last
international.
minute.
National
Right,
slash
right,
international.
we're planning ahead.
Yeah.
Out of towners.
Out of towners, and if we try to do it in that first week, where by then they are, and we try to get, maybe we do try to get press, or whatever it is, try to build up their introduction to the Fringe at that point. That's something that we can talk to Val about.
So it would be interesting, this is where I'm going with the cabaret thing. Like if we establish a pattern of every week, every other week, starting early, there's a cabaret. And then very close to the Fringe, after it already has some juice behind it and people are going, and it's the thing people do, say, and this cabaret is the out-of-towner cabaret. Like, so it has a following.
the issue is there is most of them come for only a portion of it.
And that's the big problem, right?
And like the other ones,
It'd be doing
San Diego's
previews.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they time it out. This is for, yeah, they're gonna come midway. They tend to come later because the Fringe is going more
They do.
later. So most of my groups, and probably because the International House was only open at the end. But even then, groups, the one group that was gonna come early, Turkey, got their visa declined.
Yeah.
So they, you know, but I usually do, just to your point, Steve, I usually pick 1 or 2 shows that I do as a co-pro, and I concentrate on it. We got and they did tend to do well, depending how hard they work. But the internationals, I'm gonna totally look at.
And don't forget women. I mean, women came from out of town,
And
came
they
from
won
nobody,
the top.
and they won top of the Fringe.
But they had Bradley come in 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
He was schmoozing it, but like David's bringing up, like without the.
Women,
2 years out.
15?
Women was a
14.
snap of a girl.
2014. It was like girls plus Little Women.
But like David was saying, without the contacting early, or Bradley like made himself known.
You can't half-ass it if you're going to be an international.
That's it.
I mean, you can't half-ass it if you're here anyway, but if
Yeah.
you're coming from out of town.
Alfie, the zombies,
Yeah.
women, the successors are the ones that come and hustle, hustle, hustle. And I find it really interesting what you say, because what you just said is very much my experience, is that the more you coddle, not just internationals, but
No,
anybody,
It's
like they're feeling like,
absolutely-
I don't need to hustle. Someone's taking care of this for me.
That was-
And if
that's
you
what
don't
I got
hustle,
this year.
if you don't hustle in the Fringe, and we say this in each town hall, you're doomed.
Yep.
Like, unless you have some huge built-in audience, you need to hustle, 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 hustle. And we give you different paths of how you can hustle, right? But like, one is get to know everyone, come to the events, talk to people. But some people can't do that because they're out of town or what have you. There's other ways you can
Alfie made
hustle.
a presence,
Yeah,
and that was the thing.
everyone knew
You know,
who he
these
was.
other groups, they didn't go see other shows, they didn't go to the bar. The language barrier was also huge. We had a group from Italy, and I just didn't see them anywhere.
Right.
They came in, did 2 shows, and they were gone.
Right, right.
So-
And
The
then
Brazilians.
the Brazilians, I was about to say.
Brazilians had no problem getting.
I would
people
say,
there.
right, I would say it's been 50-50.
Yeah.
I'd say 50% 90% of the internationals have come in and had, I mean, the Brazilians, they're from Sao Paulo, a city of 18 million. They were on the cover of their daily newspaper because they got a go from Stephen Lee Morris.
Right.
In Brazil, that was such a big deal in Brazil.
You have people like,
That was 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was Marquis de Sade.
And a lot of people.
And groups also.
Was there
one of
nudity?
them ended up getting
A little bit.
an agent. There's definitely been success stories. But
and it's funny, it's the people that come with the Edinburgh background that
Yes,
tend to be the
yes,
hustlers.
yes.
Because it's like this, but 7 times as
Right.
big. You know, like they had, what, 2,500 shows or something this year, right? And you can imagine, like, you need to hustle. The people like the zombie shows, Alfie,
Edinburgh.
and who played Burton, there was the Burton
Oh, yeah,
show,
he-
right?
He had a tough time, but he got out.
It was 2010.
That was also year one.
That was year one.
Year
Yeah,
one
yeah,
was
yeah.
tough for everyone.
But the guys that come through Edinburgh generally understand that you need to hustle.
Yeah.
The folks that do calf-like fringes, where you show up and everything is set up for you, is like generally, and they don't hustle, yeah, they have a lot of trouble succeeding here.
But two things, Dave, I'm definitely looking at it this year, because it comes down to the venues, whether we book them or not. And most of the venues are just not doing it.
What is your experience with the family-friendly shows that were there? Because I didn't get to most, the few I got to were not that well attended,
Yep.
and were not among those that had like lines out the door.
It's
So,
tough.
Yeah.
We had one that.
You had a Cookie
Cookie
Clubhouse
Clubhouse,
Kingdom.
But it is the only family-friendly show that I've had in the 10 years that has done well.
Hmm.
And he put money in it, and he had a big cast, and it was a good kids show. You saw it.
I saw it.
You know, it was.
I mean, I think the big problem with family-friendly shows is that you're in the middle of Hollywood.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
I mean, because we had Fringe Family for 4 years.
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years, where we had like a day, 2 days where you could come down to our venue and we had like, crafts and like puppet shows
And it was free.
And it was free. No one showed up.
No one showed up.
We were in the middle of Hollywood on a weekend. and
Yep.
it's like, I don't know if I want to take my family to the middle of Hollywood on a weekend.
Yeah.
And the parking isn't easy.
And if it was like the Valley, if we had some sort of Valley Fringe, then I could see family friendly being a lot more. But yeah, it's Hollywood isn't noted for its family friendliness.
Directly related to Fringe, a few years ago I produced a show that swept the critics in LA, and it centered around the hyper-competitive world of parents trying to get their preschoolers into the top big schools. It's called Bright Ideas, but the interesting thing was, I had a phenomenal director, great actors, but we advertised it with little blocks, lettered blocks falling off the slide. So when people looked at the ad for the show, they thought there were going to be kids in it. And in Hollywood, that's can be a little bit of a deterrent. Some people just don't want to go to the theater and see kids sometimes. So
Right.
they were suggested and referred to, but it was an all-adult show. But we didn't promote it properly to let them know, no, there are no children. So some people are just naturally adverse to that because they're just pursuing their art, and there's not as many people are into family planning.
Right.
So that's also a factor.
Yeah.
But I also want to tie in, I saw an incredible international show, and I remember, did anybody here see The King's Language? I thought it was.
Was that international?
Well, it was from South Korea. They came in.
What does it?
They-
Yeah, but you gotta be careful here with international could be he lives here. 'Cause I thought June lived here.
You need to look at the color of their
Oh,
passport.
Yeah, passport, like they live
Yeah.
here. Yeah,
Okay.
no,
I
fine,
didn't-
yeah. I think they live here.
Okay.
That's our official level.
Yeah, what's the color of your passport?
Official color of the passport.
What's your
Yeah.
passport? That's a big difference, and that goes to the cabaret too. Like that cabaret should be specialized, like the out of town, people who got on an airplane, like that's how we say it. If you got on an airplane to come.
Right.
You would.
You crossed the
qualify for this
border.
type of thing.
Yes.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah, man.
On Cabaret.
Yeah.
Well, my personal opinion, when I go to Fringe Central, I don't want to see any. That's the moment I don't want to.
You
Cabarets are on. I'm on the patio.
Interesting. Okay, tell me why.
Talk to my fellow people, and then I was, why aren't you somebody? Who's the gal that runs Cabaret?
Bella?
Yeah, she's, why aren't you in Cabaret? Like, I we're in Cabaret. I didn't think my show's a cabaret show.
Sure.
And she's like, well, this is a one-man show. It's funny and dramatic. She's, well, do funny bits. I mean, I did 3 minutes too long to plug. And I did watch a few, and it's like, they're too long. Like, the whole cabaret, in my opinion, is too long. Because I live like 3 doors down from Fringe Central, so I'm there like literally every night.
Yeah.
Trying to sell my show, but I only ever saw Fringers. I thought there would be hundreds of people looking for actors, wanting to see the cabarets, but as far as I knew, I would say 95% of the audience was other Fringers, and we were already done with office hours. Oh, that's so-and-so's show. I can't see that one.
Fringe
I already
Central
saw it.
is more of a clubhouse. That's kind of what it's
Right.
become more like than necessarily a place where patrons who are not somehow involved in the Fringe.
Except after shows.
After
people
shows
would
is
go.
different, yeah.
Right.
The thing is, like, usually later in the night, you have more non-Fringer patrons. And
I mean,
cabaret's always earlier in the day,
Right,
yeah.
I think cabaret would work to the general public.
Right.
They're not there. That's why I personally, I'm not interested. And secondly, I think for when you're talking about the international people, you need to do, and it might take a few years to develop it, but you need to do it in a space like this, invite the press, and do a cabaret in a proper theater which I've seen a lot of Fringes do, like the week before, or even 2 nights before Fringe opens, so that the press, the people that are us Hollywood people can come and help promote.
And then that introduces the big problem, is it's like, that's all fine and good if you have a festival with 30 shows, but how do you do a showcase when you have a festival with 400 shows?
And it's hard to get.
Then they get in front of the press.
Right.
The other 340 shows.
Like, 'cause everything we do, we want to do some sort of fairness.
I don't know, but I don't know how many.
Snippets like you do with Fringe TV, where you literally had 20 seconds.
I mean, is that even valuable, like, you know?
Yeah,
for-
somebody gonna come in from Japan a week early to do 2 minutes.
Right.
Like, that's the problem. But you don't know when it's gonna happen, when they're all, and you also don't know when all these groups are gonna come in until April or,
What if, just throwing this out there, what if the press cabarets were done at the venue level?
Done what?
At the venue level?
Yeah, but then again, it's like you're working into tech schedule, people, just the spaces.
If it was done at the venue level, speaking from the production perspective, I would be willing, almost like a menu situation,
Yeah.
to pay more at the initial sign-up if there were options. If you pay so-and-so more, if you pay this extra fee, we will provide, we will produce the cabaret for that advertising. That's right.
I mean, I like that idea actually, but then I'm wondering, isn't that what preview week is?
Oh,
Is it
sure.
preview week that you're buying an extra show to get press?
I'm saying, what if this was like the sort of Confederate model where there's the Hollywood Fringe organization promotes each venue's
Does
cabaret.
It's interesting, it's cool.
And then maybe the Hollywood Fringe could promote and post itself the out-of-towners.
Yeah. I
That's sort
think it's
of-
all time, it'd be interesting to bring up the venues now so that when we're planning.
Right.
Is would this be during preview week?
Yes.
The theory. What's great about that too is most venues, the preview week is the lightest booked week.
Right.
So you do have space
You
there.
could block out an hour and a half for
Right.
like whatever.
And I wonder what people are gonna think, I guess they want both, like a cabaret as well as their preview show, there may be jockeying of when things are. And then it's also, again, the whole international thing is when people come in town. So you do
Right.
another one midway, maybe?
So, as a production, if that were available, if that were feasible, I would be willing, since I was not only, I was also a writer, I would be willing to write little ad versions of the whole production.
You could use it however to kind of like highlight it. That's a cool idea, I'd bring it up with the venue.
I think that'd be pretty cool, really, because then it introduces the venue brands quite a
Yeah.
lot into it as well. You see, what does Asylum have lined up for this year? What does the Fools
It's
have
almost
lined
like,
up for this
remember
year?
they used to do that for network television? They'd have in the fall a TV show that would just highlight all the they don't do it anymore,
Right.
but they used to do that, and I remember loving to watch that.
Cartoons,
And
over
you go,
the
oh, is there
day
any,
for
when
that.
they give you that, oh,
Write down which
it
ones
was the
that
best
cost.
thing, so that's kinda cool.
We're old, FYI.
I know, it's
Just
such a
FYI,
bad
we're
grade.
all very old.
It's so old when you say that. I don't know, the network star. Love that.
Steve?
So, yeah, I think that, first of all, I thought there were a lot of great shows this year. And again, in the years that I participated, I wasn't able to see as many shows as I did, obviously, this year. But I really thought the quality was, there was a lot of high quality.
That's great.
So, so congratulations on that.
That's great.
But I really felt like there needed to be something where the people who were doing the shows had like a chance to write a log line or a small paragraph description of their shows, and that was part of the guide where you could go through. It becomes so chaotic, and there are a lot of titles that sound similar to each other. There are a lot of shows that, it becomes so difficult to distinguish what one show is from another. And if there was something before everything, and if the Fringe Guide, again, came out a little bit before it does, and people could kind of plan according, and had a better sense of what each show was, and what might appeal to them, because I was on so many different lines, and there were always these people there going, am I here for, psychosical, or is this here? I fought my way to one show through terrible traffic, only to find out, oh no, I forgot, I mixed it up with this show, and it was at a different venue completely.
And by log lines, you mean like a sentence?
Yeah, just a sentence description, which people, again, I understand that people buy, ad space and can do without what they want.
Mm.
But if there was like an equal playing field just for a small description that gave you a little bit of a taste of what that show would be.
The Fringe Guide has what, 350 characters?
300 characters.
It's in the guide. Yeah,
Yeah.
Fringe, are you saying that's too much?
No, I didn't really get, I don't know, when the Fringe Guide arrives, somehow it all seems overwhelming.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So, did you see the Fringe TV Lightning Rounds episodes 1 and 2?
I did not.
So 70 groups showed up. Did
Yeah.
5-10 seconds. They said, my show's about this. Actually, I think everybody in this room was at it.
Think so?
And that's a 7-minute block where you watch it, you go, oh, that looks good, that doesn't, that looks good, that doesn't.
And that's exactly what we're talking about here. So it was like 70, which is a good percentage of the shows, and they were like, what's your show about? My show's about 2 zombies who find love in Las Vegas.
Bam. And
Yeah.
Then, and then the next episode, what's your favorite line? Hey, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
funny, maybe I'll see that. But I know what you're saying, but like that call out was on the email. So 370 shows could have showed up, 70 did, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was sort of, and that came out before previews. So that's why we rushed to get that out first.
And that's actually a nice sort of tie-in. We wanted to talk about Fringe TV a little bit. How many people watched Fringe TV here? Like what worked? Pretend he's not here. What worked? What didn't work? Like what did you like? What did you think needed
I
improvement?
remember I came in it was on a Friday. Did you have was there a weekend option as well?
No, we just had the Friday afternoon.
Yeah, my only suggestion would be maybe to switch that to like possibly a Saturday or Sunday as opposed to, Friday tends to be the busiest traffic day or second busiest.
That's good feedback.
Yeah,
That's good feedback.
what was interesting about that was that we expected people to come later on at like 5 or whatever, but it sounded like everyone had their jobs at 5. Everyone showed up at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Which was quite opposite than
Well, they're theater people. They don't,
They did, they also-
But it was sort of like,
It's a traffic issue
we're
as well.
trying
People
to
wanted to just get out.
do what we could for as many people as we possibly could, so that it's like, this is your chance, this is the time that we have this space available, like we can't do 5 days of these kinds of shoots. I mean, maybe we can look at it again,
Sure.
but I figure a lot of people would be working on
So
it
more,
on the weekends.
maybe a couple more
Saturday
options.
morning as
Saturday
opposed to
morning.
Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
As far as other aspects of
Maybe
Fringe,
2 options.
yeah, more options for Fringe. You like?
Kind of the side thing with it, and the thing you maybe even mentioned too, one of the things I heard from a lot of people, I didn't go to it, was what a great social event it was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Like,
There were
that it was
70
not
groups
just
out there, just you
the
guys were all
physical
talking and-
taping of it, but that could go into even the pre, and it's almost a showcasey thing too.
Great promotional opportunity.
Like, promotion, but for people to schmooze with each other, so
That's great.
was something I found really interesting this year about Fringe TV, of how it kind of emerged, like, it's a social event.
All
Yeah,
right.
I came outside and just like another office hours with no alcohol, but you guys were all standing out here. and-
Oh, yeah,
chatting.
schmoozing, passing cards.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great.
Fringe TV and Cabaret, to me, ended up having value because then you could repost. It was,
Right.
it's how you could then put that out there. Because Cabaret, I did feel like the audience was just the 5 other shows that were there performing, but if you still ended up with pictures or even video and stuff that you could then put out there again through social media, that's kind of how that stuff was helpful for me.
That's great.
To put it out there again.
Oh, that's great.
It was cool, and people just did it, but maybe do something to kind of educate people. A lot of people were using, like, say, the larger one, and say, I'm at minute 2 and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And you start seeing that on Facebook all over the place, so people could use this broader video for their show. And like, I think pushing that as, it's a social event to come to, use this as promotional material behind, and give examples of how to, I think is really useful.
I thought that, those were terrifically strong, a great way.
Yeah.
And I guess being a little critical, you could tell the shows that had their shit together and the shows that didn't have their shit together.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
sort of by accident, so there was even a little bit of a filter, or I will say, for me, I became hopeful for those shows.
Yeah, right.
That, maybe they were just nervous that day, but it was a really good, quick way to go through shows and get to know stuff and get to see faces that were familiar and that kind of thing. From the little snippet that our show got, I got a dozen screen grabs that, because we didn't pay for a photographer, we didn't pay for a videographer, because we didn't have the money in the budget. So we got screen grabs out of that we used in a huge way to promote our show.
That's great.
So what I'm getting from all this is that, like, because Steve didn't know it existed, but it sounded like that's just what he was looking for.
Yeah, that would be good.
And you guys are saying like that was like something very beneficial. Yeah, I think we really need to promote the hell out of the snippets thing. I think ultimately, 'cause, like, we need to.
that was
the
a
thing
huge
is
event.
if
Yeah.
it gets bigger, then instead of having one 7-minute video, then we do like, if 100 groups show up, then we just break it into like a couple of videos. Because the thing is people showed up, they had their shit together, they were in these full costumes, and you go, man, I want to see that as an audience member. I was like, man, that looks great. That looks great. And then they came in, 10 seconds, boom, out the door, in like.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that showed up, like, I applaud. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all about showing up.
And maybe make it an event, a social event, maybe
Yeah.
do it with drinks and stuff. And
That'd be
people
fun.
schmooze as well. Like, build on that to
Yeah.
get more people to come, like, it becomes another office hours.
Right.
But in costume. It's like, that is the better selling.
And like getting some pizza and some beer or something, and people can come in.
But then that also makes me think, from your comment that you didn't know about the little snippets video. It seems that all of these processes we're going through, all these little actions we're doing, it's almost like preaching to the choir. It seems like, how do we get it out to the audience members rather than, for example, the cabaret. I got it in the email for my production.
Mhm.
I'm not, so that brings a question to my head. Are the people who sign up as as patrons only, are they getting the same email?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Well, there's 2 lists. If it says "Dear participants," then yeah, it's specifically to the participant list. If we send one general out a week, still do, and that's 25,000 people.
okay.
I think the videos, case in point, I mean, that is allowing you to reach out
Right.
to the market, to the public market. The cabaret's a little tough, I mean, I don't know what else.
Right.
A really funny, weird experience with a lot of shows, which is, again, because I've been on both sides of the aisle here, both been a presenter and also, somebody, and as a person trying to give coverage shows, my mission was really informed by my having been a participant and knowing, the value of, what a review or any kind of coverage can give you in terms of informing people that you're there and when your show is happening, because it's just a lot of information that's hard to get, through when there's so many people kind of talking at once, as it were. There were so many shows that I contacted and I said, I'm really interested in coming to see your show. And this was, either right before preview week or preview week, when I was saying it. And they were right back to me saying, oh, we're all sold out for that date. I'm so sorry. And well, you should have contacted us earlier. And I'm like, do you not understand that I'm trying to give you free coverage?
Sure.
And that this is, I'm not trying to compete with somebody who's paying $12 for a ticket. If you are smart, you will find a way to fit me in because I am there for you and I'm trying to promote your show and you are cutting your own throat here. And in certain cases, I got back to people and told them that, to which I would usually get a snippy reply saying, well, we, have a schedule and we put ourselves online 2 weeks ago, and a lot of people contacted us at that time, and the fact that you didn't just shows that you were not on top. And it's like, okay, goodbye. Never contacting you again, crossing you off my list of people I will ever pay attention to. And
Sure.
you don't understand how this process works.
Sure. I mean, how did folks feel about the level of press coverage they got?
As far as the journalists.
Yes.
reporting and showing up.
How many requests did you get from press?
Several.
Yeah.
Well, we have 8 or 10 journalists on the show.
That's great.
How many actually wrote about the show after seeing it?
Most of them.
Great.
Yeah. And that was just driven by the site. I mean, the awareness. Most of it was. I did send out a press release to Jim.
That's great.
I did do that, so that got us a radio interview. Yeah. So,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What radio? Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, wow. How about for other people, like press coverage, dealing with the press?
I had a wonderful experience. Actually, the sweetest review for our show came out after Fringe ended. And
Son of a
it seems
bitch.
like the critics started filing, and they don't have time to put them all out or write them or something. And we closed, and then the following week, we got this wonderful review from haunting.net.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I know
It
Huntington.
was wonderful, but I just wish it was halfway through the run. It was
Sure.
really nice. I want to make one quick technical comment regarding Fringe TV, because I went through the process.
Yeah.
And some people made a comment about this afterwards as well. It felt slightly rushed, and I don't know if there's an opportunity to do a quick delete for take one to go into take two. If everybody had an opportunity for maybe 2 takes at the first one, because it happened very quickly.
You gotta smack the camera. So.
And some people made a comment about that. It's just a technical thing. I don't know if that's a big hassle factor there, just to, erase the initial take and keep the second take
Yeah.
and move on to the next cast.
Definitely, like,
I would
that's a
appreciate
great
some
point.
guidance. Yeah, I felt that for ours.
Right, and that's definitely a great point.
Yeah.
We had like a lot more people show up than we expected, and we only had 3 hours. So again, making it a bigger, like a day or whatever.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
biggest thing though was that, because we tried this in the past, and people like just want to talk for like 2 minutes, and you go, no. So the urge was to keep it like, you have to come prepared, this is your one shot, this is your elevator pitch, your elevator's only going 1 floor, so you gotta do it. And it's,
Well,
we
part of the
can-
problem
we
was
can
hitting
do it
the
in-
mark within the space of the framing of the camera, which changed the context of kind of how to set it up, and the positioning of everybody was very tight, and very specific, and
Yeah.
slightly rushed, and the combination of all that was just,
I understand, yeah. We were, yeah, okay.
So,
And just 2 more things in terms of the coverage. I had all these writers who said they wanted to cover Fringe, and pretty much none of them came through. So I do want to apologize that there wasn't more. That's why I ended up frantically kind of trying to cover everything.
Right.
Because again, we don't pay.
That's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah. And what we do offer is for people to express their opinions. And we certainly look for people who, have informed opinions to express, and not just anybody who wants a forum for their blog. But they just didn't come through. And I have no way to put a pressure on anybody who's not doing it. You're fired from your job that doesn't pay anything.
Right.
But I really do, it used to be that like when Stephen Lee Morris was a force at the LA Weekly, he would put out a few previews of coming attractions, of shows that were coming up in the Fringe, and I read those really kind of religiously. Even when I was a participant and was not included in those coming attractions, I still wanted to know what shows to see. And there's not kind of a center now. Without Stephen, with Stephen being LA Stage Alliance now, and with the Weekly having pretty much forfeited that role of, of providing widespread coverage to people who are theater fanatics, which I completely put myself in that category. There's not really somebody to fill that void, and really, I feel sorry for that, because I do believe there's passion in this town for people who want, things that are kind of off the beaten track, which is, I think, what Fringe does best.
Mm-hmm.
Not the new production of Arthur Miller's, Death of a Salesman, that couldn't find a venue in the Valley, and now they've kind of ended up here, but they're basically a traditional production. No, the things that really kind of are a little bit off the wall, that have a reverence, I think that's your core demographic and your core, performers and audience, and I think there's a meeting place in which there's a bigger audience than is currently aware of what's happening until it's almost too late to process all the information.
There was a few shows, there was a few coverage that came up. You've seen like 3 or 4 that they're like, don't miss these shows, and they were from the
There was like
blogs.
Huffington Post, LAist. There was there was some in there.
LAist, there was, I thought the Haunting may have, or the Haunt may have done one.
LA Daily News.
LA Stage, and they just
But
got
that
a
doesn't
bunch.
get a wide readership, that's really an inside baseball kind of thing.
So I'm conscious of time, and I know we said we're going to keep this a little short today, unless people have other things to say. I did have one other subject I wanted to bring up, which are the awards. And we talk about this every year. Is there a better way to do it? Should we just not have an awards ceremony and do everything online? See, I don't.
Much fun.
Exactly. Okay. So.
It's a good
And then so just to
There
review,
definitely should not be other shows going on during your.
and that's ultimately their choice. I mean,
tell you,
they.
we do because they're the best shows. People do. Everybody. First of all, they come to me. I need a show. This is the only show we have awards. I'll do it.
Right.
Or they're doing 2 shows, and they don't care about it.
But you always give them the heads up.
Oh, I always give them the heads up.
Yeah.
And they always come back and say it was their best night of the run.
Ah.
I
So.
still think your awards should be like on Monday night, after everything is run over the weekend, that you've ended everything. Then do it Monday night, people show up, it's a ceremony, it's got some gravitas to it.
Well, it's an interesting idea. It's
That is
like,
kinda interesting.
it's just, there's something about ending on a Monday. So just to review how it works, like people understand is if you've seen so many shows, if you've reviewed so many shows, if you've worked on a show, then you get a ballot. And how many ballots did we have this year? 3,000 ballots. So 3,000 ballots went out, and then everyone could vote on their favorite by category, like best world premiere, top of the Fringe. I think we had sponsored awards. And now, based on that framework, like, is there anything that could be improved?
Actually, how do you get that list? So you get a ballot, I didn't even follow that through. I don't
They did.
Huh?
They did.
They-
If they were on the site, they did.
Well,
But you also
if
can't vote
they
for your
weren't-
own show.
But you cannot vote for your own show.
Right. But is that only if you posted them under the crew?
Yes.
Yeah, which I didn't actually do.
Oh, there you go.
That's-
Otherwise, we have no way of knowing who your
Yeah,
show is.
because you don't have the link.
Which is
yeah.
why we say, and maybe we could say it more. Like I said it in the town hall. It's like add all of your cast and crew to your show.
One per show.
No. It's if you're on the site, you get a show.
That's cool.
If you're on the site, you get a show. You get one.
Are you gonna let the encores read the names of the shows next year?
Well, I think that's let's talk about that off.
I'm sorry, I just had to throw it in there.
So knowing that up front.
Yes.
Would have been.
Yes, it's okay. Well, we could certainly do a better job of communicating that. Yeah, Richard.
I don't have a fix for this.
Yeah.
I
Neither
just
do
know
we.
Yeah.
when I voted, I felt horrible. Because in each category, there's a pull-down menu of a ton of shows.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of shows this year.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I was average on the number of shows I saw, but I'm feeling I was above average for participants, the number of shows I saw.
Yeah.
And yet, I was overwhelmed by the shows I hadn't seen.
Yes.
And yet I had to pick one,
Yeah.
Yes.
and then it comes down to, 3 or 4 in each category that I've seen.
Yes.
And there, I've seen those shows because I make friends with those people.
Yes.
Right.
So then I was choosing, quite honestly, amongst friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
It's skewed,
And
it's a
and I did
restricted
it,
selection
and
process.
I closed it and I sent it, but honestly, I felt kind of terrible for a while after. I just kind of like, how can I even vote? I didn't see all these shows.
Yeah.
I
Which,
didn't-
which comes to, I mean,
I don't know the answer.
you have brought up the problem.
I'm feeling it again right now.
That's the
Right. That's the problem.
People typically vote for the show that they support or are involved in, or their friends are involved in.
Right.
So a little bit of the popularity thing enters into it.
So that's so true, that's so true.
Yeah.
Because one show's only had 300 people to see it.
Right.
Like every show in the,
Right.
how many seats times 5,
At the most, at the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah, so.
There are some really good shows that had 3 or 4 people in the audience.
Right.
Yep.
You but that goes to them getting audience there. I mean, part of this goes to what you're saying earlier is people need to go out there and get it. It is a popularity contest, but then you still have to go out and get people to come see the shows, to see the audience. You've
Which-
got to get reviewers.
Which is ultimately like the way that we see the awards, because there's no way
There's
that,
no way.
otherwise if you see 400 shows, then maybe you can make an actual bet on which show's the best. So it's like, what you see it as, we call them the community awards, because part of it is that you involve yourself in the community and you get people in the community who are fundamentally the people voting to come see your shows. So it's much more of a marketing award than a qualitative, this is the best show, because I have no idea, and God knows we've put a lot of thought into it, how you do a completely fair, qualitative analysis of 400 shows, where everyone feels that they're involved in the selection process.
And the encores where at least the venue is seeing all the shows in their space. It doesn't necessarily reflect the best shows, because I've had shows that were the best I love, but they couldn't do a show in July.
Yeah, but you had some
So,
other
and we don't
comments.
Name them.
You had some other comments on that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this felt awardy to me, and, I was very frustrated. Awardy.
Good word.
Not 100% perfect to talk about what I'm gonna say.
No,
I'm
no.
trying to say what I'm
You're not being recorded right now.
But, you'll know what I mean by this felt awardy. I was very frustrated about my show, as everybody was about their own show. I really wanted to get, and there's a little bit of an element of competition, especially the first couple of weeks.
Sure.
Like, get people out there, get people out. And, you get your preview, and you get a couple good people to say good things, you know what I mean? You try to use that for some of your marketing. But there was something that seemed awardy that started to come out really early, and I didn't know what it was until for a couple of weeks. That was called Pick of the Fringe.
Mhm.
That seemed awardy to me, and I was like, wait a second, some of these shows haven't even happened yet, and they're able to put up on Facebook and stuff this Pick of the Fringe badge. And I'm like, so already there are levels? I don't even think preview week was done. And I was like, already there are levels? And that show gets to do that thing that, to the average, to the observer that doesn't know about theater or fringe or whatever you're trying to get, I'm like, man, what a huge advantage that is.
That's so true.
We're a Pick of the Fringe. And I was like, what is Pick of the Fringe? And I found out it was kind of an invitation to a performance show. I'm still not clear on what it was.
I wasn't completely clear on
But it felt, and I saw even at the end, when people were putting their laurels up and stuff, and they got their encore, people were also saying that they were picking the fringe, and I was like, man, that sounds like the top award is top of the fringe, and that went to top of the fringe.
Right.
So, I was confused about that kind of the whole way through, because some people were able to use what seemed awardy as they were running, and I felt like that pushed the rest of our shows into a different place online. Well, we have audience reviews and we have interview.
Now, of course, so Peak of the Fringe isn't run by us. Like, was that clear? Like, this is Blaha's thing.
This is me, this is actually, this is me.
No,
I know you do. No, but this was a fascinating year for us, because we've done it for years. It actually comes from Edinburgh.
That's why I'm
right?
sitting behind
My
you.
business, yeah, right.
Right.
My business partner for this, he produced in Edinburgh for 15 years. And they literally have a pick of the fringe every single day. They have 3 or 4 companies do it. So individual companies go out, they send out judges, and they pick. And it's combined art form and fringe management's pick of the fringe. Like, that's how we call ours.
Yeah.
This was the first year. We've done it 4 years. The second year, we actually got nominated for Cabaret, which we blew our minds. It was very small. This year, it's funny you say this, because this year was the first year I told Michael, I go, we became important this year. Because when you had 375 shows, we were a distinguisher. And what we do is, it distinguished it to, like, we have all these shows, how do you market? And we had never seen that before. Most of the time we were like, most people didn't even know what it was. People wouldn't. This year, everybody started using the graphic as part of their
I'm still not,
advertisement.
Frank, I'm still not sure what it was.
I didn't think it was fair at all. I thought it was completely unfair.
What do you mean?
That I went to one of the Pick of the Fringe
Yeah.
things, and I just thought the selection of shows seemed arbitrary to me.
Okay.
I thought the little pieces of the shows that were presented went on. They were not very. I then went to see some of the shows, and I did not find them representative of the shows as such.
But you did go to them.
I went to some of them. Some of them I eliminated from seeing them at Pick of the Fringe and thought, oh my God, I hate this. I'm definitely not going to go see it. But again, I'm not sure it was even fair to the show. But I don't know how, like, you know. And then when you presented it, there was kind of no backstage, and everybody was kind of. There was like this huge backlog of performers sweating bullets in the in the aisles there, waiting to get on, and then by the time they got on, you know, it just didn't serve the purpose that I think you wanted it to serve, and it didn't represent you know, a cross section of shows. It just seemed so arbitrary that I ended up feeling, why are you doing this?
Okay. Well, that's great feedback. I mean, in general, we never got audiences this size before, and the general feedback I got from people who, most of the people that came in our space had never been to a fringe show. So right there, I would say that the people that came in here, we were attracting a brand new audience. And many of them did go to see shows based off of that, and that absolutely is happening. It is a crazy show because basically these people come in 15 minutes before the show, and we work that and we do that. And previous years, because there wasn't much audiences, we keep the cast out to see it, because the cast actually likes to see it because they don't get an opportunity to see as many shows. So they view it as it. In terms of arbitrary, we actually, every time we try to have a musical, we try to have a solo show. I mean, by nature, a cabaret show is going to be a little arbitrary. Like, we're not having a theme for each show. So when you're saying arbitrary, do you mean they were just different types of shows?
I just didn't understand, what qualified this show to be in the pick of the fringe as opposed to any other
Well,
show.
just like anything, just
Why
like
was
you
it
as
a-
a reviewer go and you
I
say you
mean,
like
who-
this show and you don't like this. We went in and I said, I like this show's pick of the fringe. Actually, we called the venues and we asked each venue, out of your shows, who do you want to pick of the fringe? One of the qualifiers for it is if you aren't gonna get an encore, you have a higher chance of getting it. Like, if your show was good and you knew that you wouldn't be there in July, we would probably award you a pick of the fringe in order that you got a little bling prior to it. But it was people's decisions of what they felt was good. The fact that you went in there and liked some and didn't like others, of course, I mean, that's just the nature of it. But we actually feel it was very successful this year. We averaged 40 people a night for seeing the show. Everybody afterwards came up and loved being a part of it. But I appreciate like some of the concern about what did this mean. And obviously I think this year we kind of emerged as more of a force. And so Michael and I are gonna we'll definitely talk about this conversation. But there's things to be worked out of it, but I don't know, I think it delivered what it needed. We got showed, I know for a fact we had a show that nobody knew about. And somebody came up and said, two judges came up to me and said, you've got to put this in. Nobody knew about. Because we picked that show, they ended up getting houses and got an encore.
Sure.
So when you're talking about how do you get shows out there, we're doing that. Pick of the Fringe did that. We specifically were trying to find shows that weren't necessarily the ones everybody was buzzing about. So I appreciate the comments, but I do feel like what we were trying to do, we were actually working.
I think the issue becomes in the wordage of pick of the fringe.
It's Edinburgh.
No, I get it, but I think like some people, blah has this fringe production. So I guess there's some confusion.
I appreciate it. And we had that with the best of and going to Andre, so I appreciate it.
And one of the reasons, like he said, like one of your issues was I don't understand what it is.
Right.
And if it was coming from us, we have the universal mailing list, then we could talk about it at town halls and workshops. Because if it wasn't just a show, then we could communicate with it. So I think a lot of people were like, is this a thing? Because because Asylum has Asylum's sort of world they communicate to, but because it's a show, we couldn't saying this is a big thing that you should all get behind. So that might have been the cause of the confusion.
I definitely looked more at the marketing side of it to get it more. Again, it exploded this year. It was not.
Yeah, it felt like awards were.
Well,
Yeah.
And people, understood. All good.
Just spread the love in terms of seeing other shows, like, you're talking about just being overwhelmed, with the drop-down menu, and you only see 10, 15, 20% of them. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. What if, I got a notice, I think I saw, 5, 6, 7, 8 shows or something, it says, you qualify, to be a voter now, and I thought, well, what if there's an incentive, for everybody to see 10 shows initially, and then once they reach that level, whether the producers of those shows give them half off comps or whatever, little discounts, then they can see another 10 or 15 or 20 shows for nothing. They just have to get to that 10. I was comped on some, I paid half price, and I paid, during the Encore series here, I've been paying full price for it, and I don't regret any of it, it's been great, but maybe reaching a minimum level of 10, and then once you hit that, your reward is you can go out and see any show you want, gratis for the rest of the festival, and then that'll provide more incentive for people to go out. Once they reach that initial minimum requirement.
The issue, who's going to eat that cost is the question. That's
Everybody, somebody wanted to see.
and that's why we don't do
And then, but seriously, if 60 group people did, they all want to see your show, they all show up.
Well, maybe you raise.
It's why we don't do
the bar a
passes.
little higher than that. I don't know.
Right.
It's tough, yeah.
15 or 20.
We're in that odd, the way that we are structured makes it difficult to have those kind of things.
Yeah,
Where a 2-for-1 pass or a
Or-
festival pass, it's because everyone is an individual producer, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's not.
It makes it very difficult, and we've discussed this, we've been working on this for 10 years. We would love to have some kind of festival pass or a 2-for-1 or a 5.
Of course we would.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But it's, the only idea we've had is that it's an opt-in. So you get 30 productions to opt in as if you you buy two, you can have two for one pass kind of thing. That's the only thing that's come close to managing.
You know what somebody mentioned though, we kind of talked about the venues, is maybe the venues could do it. Like each venue
Sure.
could come up with something for participating, but that's, I think, the smallest you could get it.
I had for going back to award methodology for a moment. Like I've had the idea that I thought you were actually going here is that the more shows you see, the more weight your vote has in the tabulations. So like the more you participate, the more your vote counts. So at the beginning, your vote counts 1, but as you see more things, your vote starts to count more.
What about adding, like, when you
Yeah.
at the press level, like doesn't Rotten Tomatoes do it where the press get more weight? So you create, maybe venue managers get more weight. Maybe there's
separately.
Yeah.
They have just separate ones.
They have a critic meter.
I
and
see,
an
I see.
audience meter.
I see.
I mean, it becomes a technology challenge, and fundamentally, you need to buy all of your tickets through the site, so we know that you bought them. But you guys bought 70% of your 68% of your tickets through the site this year anyway, which is a flip from last year where it was 40.
68% of the tickets.
68% of the 65,000 or so tickets that were purchased for the Hollywood Fringe Festival were purchased through the website.
All right, versus walk-ups. So
Versus
you're comparing
walk-ups.
walk-up numbers.
Versus walk-ups. Last year,
That's amazing.
40% were sold
That's
through the website and 60% were walk-ups.
So
So,
you could track that. You could kind of.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Walk-ups this year for using Square and things like that.
Oh, right.
It was fast to do it through the website.
Oh, sure. But if it's like a last-minute show and the tickets to sales are closed on the website, then it makes sense you walk up. You can be.
I have two small little things.
Go for it.
also that
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up. So-
Please.
One was, and this came up at a barbecue amongst the Fringe friends. I really missed the name tags. Terrible.
Oh!
Fringe Central started, I missed the name.
Yes.
Yeah, I missed the name tags too, trust me.
What if there's a way with the participant button, and I don't know if it's possible with manufacturing, it's all complicated, but if the button had a space at the bottom where one could write their name, then your participant button automatically has a name, it's a name tag too,
It'd have to be a bigger button.
It would be a bigger
Can
button.
I actually,
or less graphic on display.
Yeah.
can I add to that? Actually, when I went down to San Diego Fringe, and this may be more expensive. maybe
Everybody
it's
gets
worth it,
lanyards?
Everybody has a lanyard.
Right.
And so everybody has one.
So there's
And it
always
has their
something-
name,
something-
and it has their name on it.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, you would have artist, and then it would, I think even the name of the show, and then your name.
It's tough. We would need to produce
That would be
2,000 of
Yeah,
them.
it would be.
Yeah. But
But I agree with you, that, I really miss that.
yeah, I mean, I missed it too.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Falls
like
right off, falls right
I'm
off.
like, who the hell are you?
Exactly.
I don't know if it would be similar, but it would probably be logistically less overwhelming as if it was part of the sign-up process.
Mhm.
So, like, when you sign up as a producer, there's something at the end of it saying, is this the name you want on your
Name tag.
identification?
Sure.
Is this your title?
Sure.
So,
I mean, it's interesting. We've toyed with this idea of giving everyone lanyards. It's very expensive at our scale. So that's one thing. Lanyards are weirdly not cheap,
What if
but
you
yeah.
were to do something like, if you want a lanyard for your cast, check this box and it's an extra.
And it charges you a little more. We thought about that too. Yeah, if you want a lanyard, but ultimately we want everyone to have a lanyard. If we're
Right,
giving lanyards,
right.
right? So, or you get one free with your registration, and you can buy additional ones for your cast or something like that. It's the participant button idea is an interesting one. There's a few issues that need to be worked out. One is how the hell do you write your name on it without it getting wiped away? And then the participant button is only 3.5 inches, which is also it's gonna be really like, and your name is Richard, like so yeah, that might make it. But I think ultimately like what San Diego Fringe does, what a couple other fringes do, is lanyards is great.
They also built, like with the buttons, that sense of community right away. Like when you went around, you know everybody was an artist. You knew who was press. You knew, right now you get that.
Yeah.
But the artist took out, and then it also, they work at where any artist can go in at at the end of the show, again, because it's a Canadian model, so they can do it. But we would just stand up there and be like, okay, now artists, and then the artist that was there would get a ticket for free.
You had a,
It became a valuable thing to have.
yeah. I mean, like, we'll certainly look into it and re-price it out and whatnot to see if that's something that's possible. But yeah, that would be ideal for everyone. You had a second thing.
Yeah, the other thing has to do with, again, this is a personal sensitive issue. The way when one writes a review on the site.
Yes?
I don't remember, like 2 years ago I was in a play.
We're talking about the 3 boxes?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
That what I liked, what you didn't like, gives what I didn't like as much space and power and sort of like you should, unless, in fact, I don't remember 2 years ago when I left reviews having this experience.
No, that's
It seemed to me
No.
it was new, and so I tried to just skip it, and then a pop-up window would come up and say, you must say all three of this. You must say what you didn't like.
It's because people halfway through figured out a way to hack around and not do it. And someone brought that to my attention halfway through, and I'm like, God damn it. I looked at the code, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there's empty spaces. I was gonna start leaving.
So you're going with you don't like, I'll give you some background of where this comes
There's
from.
this equal weight, and if people have gone to the theater, and they've then gone to the website to leave a review, I think they have in their mind what their review's gonna be.
Sure.
And if they need to say, oh, this needed help with a little bit of the lighting, or whatever, they're gonna say it. They're
Yep.
gonna say it, without this dark and evil. It's expensive.
Okay,
It's expensive,
so,
it's spontaneous, Fringe experience.
a couple
We're all
things.
equal, and everything's fun, and we want to end happy.
That's true. So here's the thing.
And it almost goes against.
And I think that's
It
wonderful.
almost goes against
Yes.
the don't be a jerk.
And
rule.
it's what I,
Because
it's,
these good people can they get sucked into
Jeez.
feeling they need to say
Well, he has
something.
thought this out.
yes, he's coming out. So here's the thing. Fundamentally, and first of all, I'll preface this by saying is that the 3 boxes are probably gone next year. So I'll preface it by saying that. But like, so that,
Look what you did.
that it's like, but let me just say this, and this is important, and like, because I come from, acting background too, and I would get press reviews, and people would say, oh God, I love the show, but Ben sucked, and that hurt quite a lot, and like even negative reviews, or I produce a show, and they say that what they don't like about the show. Fundamentally, the reviews are not for you. The reviews are for the people coming, trying to figure out what show to see. The reason we added that was because people still find a way to do this, is if you go to the Fringe site, and this is when we had like 1 through 5 stars, it was a joke. 5 star, 5 star, 5 star, 5 star, 5 star, 5 star. It was literally, we had an unbelievable festival. Every show was perfect. and it became to the point where reviews were just useless. And so it's like, I give this speech every year where it's like, please be constructive. Like, if you don't like something, you don't need to be mean. You can be constructive. And so we try to encourage people to use sandwich type reviews. If you don't want to be a jerk, you can say, I like this. I really thought that this was this. But all over, I thought it was good. And that's what we were trying to give you, a framework, maybe in a nanny state sort of way, which is why we're not going to do it again, such that to encourage you to do sandwich reviews, because God knows every show has something that could be improved upon, and that's why we did it. Now, ultimately, it's so wildly unpopular that people have. Actually, I think the first 3-box review, the negative thing was like, I really liked the show, it was great. And the negative thing was, but I really hate filling out this box. It was an experiment to try to get people to do it, but fundamentally it's like no one is served by universally positive reviews. And it's to the point where I would have,
But you get all your friends to leave all these,
and that's what you do.
Yeah.
And that's what
But
happens.
what I like is I like the certified review. I like
Yep.
the press review. Like, I personally like going back there to help find shows and information.
Oh, then that's good.
But knowing that it was like certified reviewers or press,
Yeah.
figuring the rest of them are friends and family.
Yep, or they saw it at the door.
People
Yeah.
had to find a way.
Yeah, that was,
People who avoided the boxes and wrote overall still found a way to, I think they have a sense of legitimizing their own review by saying this one thing and this one thing.
well, I agree with you.
People were still finding a way to do it.
Not
It just reads so starkly when you're reading the review.
I hear you.
But in,
And then, again, it It was an effort, like, ever since the beginning. It's like, I think it's actually the opposite problem that New York has. In New York, everything just sucks. In LA, everything's great! Because you never know who that casting director is going to be the next time you go up. It's going to be that person you gave the bad review to. Or you... Right. So I think, yeah, I don't know what to do. Like, at this point, I think we just need to go back to the single box and hope that people, like, build an environment whereby they can be constructive or honest, you know? We've also gone back and forth with Anonymous. Anybody who follows the saga of Anonymous versus non-anonymous, you can go, oh, this 2016 was an anonymous year. 2015 was because they're trying to find the right thing. We used to do ratings. First we did 5-star ratings, and then we did 4 vectors of 5 stars across different parts of it, and then then we went for not for me, loved it, not my thing, and
We have literally done everything.
we've tried everything.
Trying, guys.
I guess the reason I thought it was worthy of conversation, because
It
back
is.
at the very beginning, where I talked about all the things that our show didn't do and didn't spend money on,
Yep.
because whole post-frame reviews were a huge,
Of course.
huge.
From the web review.
Yeah, and we couldn't afford to hire a PR person, and we
Right.
sent out some emails to people, they didn't respond to any of our emails or anything like that. We're one show at the Fringe. So we had to make our own kind of PR out of the reviews. So I know they're not sort of for us and for the audience, but as a marketing tool, when
Of course.
you have a marketing thing,
Of course.
it's a big.
And they're probably gone. The experiment tried for 2 years. Everyone hates the 3 boxes.
But I would say I was telling Richard, the reviews this year I felt were used
I like that
more
for me.
Oh, really?
in people's marketing than ever before.
Oh, there you go.
And again, I think this year what was unique, and this is why I was so grateful, Stephen, that you were around. I mean, not like pick up the Fringe, but like the rest of it, to go out there, it helped distinguish. There were so many shows this year that people really needed to distinguish themselves. And so they did it with reviews, they did it with video.
I was only hired in May, so I didn't have much time.
No, you were out there.
That's a whole month. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
The Fringe is coming.
One more? One more. Go for it.
Something I just want to get off my chest with respect to last year, and I don't know if the other producers here feel the same way as I do, but with the mixers, there were other people who pretty much echoed what I was saying as well. I feel the load in, load out 15 minutes it creates too rushed of an experience. And it undermines.
Is that part of the charm?
Of the show, and I know it's a venue problem.
Right.
And I've talked to other producers too from the theaters about this issue, and a fair amount of them concur with me. They just feel like, you're kind of shoving your show into the space, and then you're having to rush out, and there's no opportunity to just really settle before you put it on. Just
Sure.
breathe a
It's
little.
frenetic.
And it's frenetic.
Right.
And so, people just don't have an opportunity to settle into the beginning of the show and the rhythm. And then when they're pushed out afterwards, there's no kind of retrospective, I don't know, just a few minutes of an afterglow or anything where you have to just bolt on out and get ready for the next show to come in.
Sure.
I got the overall sense that this year's Fringe, because of the incredible number of shows, that is a slightly overwhelming and overly hectic experience from other producers as well. I don't know. I know the venues, they're thinking about money, of course.
Well, you can always rent more time. If you came in and said, I want a half hour before, an hour show, and a half hour after, I'd do it.
That's
I'm not
right.
gonna give you a half hour free time.
You're getting
But-
a
but- and yet-
budgetary issue there. I'm just saying,
Okay, but.
I'm throwing it out as an inquiry as just a
I like that you raise this because if this is actually, if the stuff today becomes the intro for next year.
Yep.
Here's the stuff you wish you do. Just be aware of that. You really put the fear into me of that you're in and out. For me,
Yes! I put the fear.
So for us, at the 3 clubs, it actually worked out fine, but what I learned we suggested, is announcing to the audience at the end of the show that you're gonna be out on the sidewalk or in the front bar in 20 minutes to hang out.
You mean Fringe Central is what you meant to say.
I mean, all our groups do that too.
Yeah.
And they're instructed to tell people.
That
to
was
go
the
out.
stressful part, was just letting your audience know,
Yeah.
okay, we can hang out after we yank everything out of here in 15 minutes.
I mean, so ultimately, I think like this math solution is you just rent more time.
My solo house, with 20 shows in it, I'd go in there, everybody would freak out about the 15-minute. I'd go in there 10 minutes before the show, and the person's just sitting there. Because after 4 shows, it's done. And people like the fact that their audiences are crossing over. Because if you had an hour, because what you're suggesting is a half hour for one show and a half hour another. You've got an hour where nothing is happening. And that's not money, like we'll charge you for that space. It's not a budgetary thing on our side. But for you and the shows, that energy dies. So in all the fringes I've been to, they're all set up that. In particular, to create this sense of there's something going on. But every year I have a show. I had a show actually in the Solo House. She wanted more time. I booked her an extra 15 minutes. So I think that you can, any venue will work out a deal with you. But we can't just give out an extra half hour to every single group, because we
That
could.
ends up being like 45 hours.
It would, right, if we had a half hour of every group just gave it away, that'd be like giving away 3 or 4 shows every day.
Steve?
Yeah, if I could just go over this experience of trying to do coverage of a number of shows. People don't understand that if you're going from one show to the other, you as a critic kind of need to have a seat put aside, a chair with your name, on it, so that if I have to, compete with everybody else who's in line for a show half an hour before, I'm trying to see a show which ends 15 minutes before the next show begins, because I'm trying to see as many shows as possible. But there's nobody who seems to be aware that's just putting the name on a seat and reserving a seat for you in their show. It makes it so much easier for me to give them coverage, because there were times when I got there 2 minutes after the show started, and that was
And that's something that we could help communicate with when we're talking about press relations, is that we suggest that you, because they can look on their will call sheet and say, show me the press on the will call sheet. And they go like press, not press, industry press. We could say like go and actually cordon off seats for them. So I mean that's something we can help communicate.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's a great situation is what it is, and I was going to say something about having a number. There were some venues that were that were spread out away from from this this area between here and the complex was doable within a 15 minutes like end of one, start of another. But like if I was down a studio stage, there's just no way I'm getting over, finding a parking space and getting over to safer.
Yeah, we need the tram.
Some kind of deal, man, that get on your side to put aside.
Yep.
Critical parking.
Well, okay, guys, we're a little bit over, I think, what we initially wanted, but this has been such a great conversation, and we just let it go. I mean, doesn't need to stop because there's a bar right across the road. So why don't we retire there? Thank you all for coming, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.